And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that break, because we have returned with our second and final matchup of the night. It is going to be Team Basilisk versus the Platinum Heroes. We were just having a look at the overall standings. We were having a look at the overall ELOs of the rosters of these teams. And boy, oh boy, Serral did get a boosted ELO. Almost up to 950. My oh my. It's quite high. I think it's the highest. I think it's the highest out of any player in the entire league. So it's going to be a tough one for the Platinum Heroes. Platinum Heroes, their players aren't bad, don't get me wrong, but they're up against some reason, and they even made it all the way to the playoffs. Fun fact, Firefly even defeated the Platinum Heroes as well during the round robin league leading into that. So Firefly was a big was a big figure and a big part of the Starving Camels, but has since been taken by the Platinum Heroes, of course, getting a little bit more support. And there was an interview a couple of weeks ago, and I believe the Starving Camels, as he is 600 ELO, damn, that's pretty high. There was an interview a couple of weeks ago, and the Starving Camels, they did say that they were happy for Firefly to find a team that couldn't support him a little bit better. Just because the Starving Camels, they don't really have that much funds, so they're more than happy to see a Firefly get the support that he deserves and that he needs and that he deserves as well as an amazing player. And here we go. Up first is going to be Firefly versus Serral. Predictions in the chat are open. Place your bets on how you think this is going to go. Game 1 is going to be on Oceanborn. Again, it's hard to predict against Serral unless we're talking about like big names, right? Like Dark or Hero or Solar or Clem, Maru, Byun. They're typically the caliber of player that can bring him down. But here we go. We're getting into this in the top left. We have Firefly for the Platinum Heroes. And in the bottom right hand corner, we have Serral for Team Basilisk. Oh, he's growing a beard. Ah. Just noticed. But here we go. Serral, of course, he was up late last night, or late for me, I should say, competing in the Sao Shui Cup. There we go, Sao Shui Cup. Serral, he was competing in Korea versus the world, and Serral was going the distance. For those of you that weren't here for it, last night, I highly recommend checking out the VODs. We saw some amazing best of fives featuring Serral, and some amazing games were had as well. So I highly recommend checking out the VODs. Worth checking out over on our Twitch and eventually our YouTube as well. For now though, we're back with some more StarCraft, and Serral's going for a standard opener, is going to be going for a hatch gas pool opener here on Oceanborn. Meanwhile, my eyes are on Firefly. I can't believe my eyes. I'm seeing Fireflies, and Firefly, he can be a very tricky player. We have seen him quite often catch Zerg players off guard by going for these like offbeat glaive adept timings and going for something like Sky to also some kind of weird all-in. Firefly, he does often rely on just catching the Zerg player off guard and catching them unawares, and I mean, Firefly has been able to get some really good results as a result of that. We'll see what how he approaches Serral here on Oceanborn. Again, the two players have been preparing for this for the past week. They have been preparing for well, maybe not a week, maybe like 5 or so days. They have been preparing for this match, and we'll see what kind of fruit is bared from that. What Firefly brings. As for now, standard openers is just being a little bit annoying. The first adept is on the way. Was a Gate Cyber Expand, and behind this, Firefly is going for a Stargate opener, so everything is looking by the book. This would not be the worst map for something like a Twilight Council follow-up without a Forge into Glaive Adepts. We have seen Firefly use that to great effect, and Oceanborn with a short rush distance by ground, that could work well here. But we'll see. As the probe does end up falling to those lings. Depth shading across the map. It is a shame, like Firefly is such a good player, and for him to get the short end of the stick, and for him to end up drawing Serral of all players here, like honestly, I think Firefly could do well against Trigger and Reynor. I think he can thrive against them. Anyone against Serral though, it's brutal, Papi. It's brutal. as the Adepts do make it into the natural base, but they don't quite get much done. Eva Chamber is thrown down, Lings arrive, and the Adept does shade into the main. Can we get the drone? Oh, no, we will not. Oh my god. The Spore trick just in time. One drone finally goes down, but only a single worker for 2 Adepts. Could trade for Serral. Behind this, we have Oracles on the way from Firefly. Third base should soon be taken as well from our Protoss, and then we'll see what kind of tech gets thrown down. Before that, of course, the Lings do get across the map looking to delay the expansion. The Adepts are not here, and we will force the activation of the Pulsar Beam from this Oracle. Really good trade here for Serral to force energy to be wasted defensively instead of offensively. Meanwhile, Firefly, he's working on his 3rd Oracle. Does have a couple of Adepts to help defend that 3rd, but I'm still waiting to see the tech. Still waiting to see what he brings. As the Oracles are zooming across the map, they go for the Queens, actually. Okay, they get 1. They could maybe get the 2nd Queen as well. They will get the 2nd Queen. Before getting the hell out of there. Some good pickups here from Firefly, even forcing out a Gas Geyser, forcing out a Spore Crawler as well. The tech is heavily delayed, and now we see it. It's going to be a Robo and a Forge. Interesting. Okay. So very creator-esque. I was expecting something more aggressive, but no, we're seeing something more tech-heavy instead. For those wondering, the Twilight Council is delayed, which means Blink and Charge are delayed. So what are we getting instead? We're going to be working on early +1, we're going to be working on some early Immortals, and we can get into a faster Robotics Bay for Colossus production. Oh, meanwhile, the Adepts do get across the map, and they're going to be able to get a couple of workers. But they are pinned here against the wall. 3 drones go down. A 4th drone as well as a shade into that natural base. Serral losing quite a bit of work, quite an amount of workers. 5 and can we get a 6th? No shot. Oh, not quite. Quick moves there out of Serral, able to save that drone. But 5 drone kills for 4 Adepts, better. It wasn't just those drones, but also a couple of Lings as well. Meanwhile, back at home, there's that +1, there's that Immortal on the way. So this could go one of 2 ways. This could lead into an Immortal all-in, with an abundance of Immortals moving out across the map with sentries and with vanilla units. Or this could be the beginning of a Robotics Bay, 2nd Robo into double Colossus production. One or the other, and we get our answer. Sentries are morphed in, additional gateways as well. This is looking like a 3-base all-in coming out from Firefly. Sentries, Immortals, and Stalkers should be coming out. Now, can Serral piece this together? As we have the Oracles getting a couple more drones. 3 more drones go down. Again, we see even more gateways thrown down for Firefly. He's just doubling down on this. All or nothing. But Serral, he was able to scout the main base earlier, and I wonder if he is aware of what's happening. When it comes to the composition, Serral, he's going Ling Roach Ravager, which is what he needs. Here we go. Push is moving out. Another Immortal's on the way. Serral going for Swarm Host. Okay, that is not what I was expecting. There's a Warp Prism in production to reinforce across the map to commit to this all-in. Swarm Hosts are going to be an interesting one. I don't know if we have the time to really get value out of this, bearing in mind that Firefly is very committed and time is working against him, so he's going to be very in the face of Serral. 4th base is under threat, but honestly, we don't care about the 4th. We want to go for the kill, and yeah, we ignore the 4th base. We have to go straight for the Jugular, straight for the 3rd. Spores are going down. We do have energy for force fields. The first Locust Wave comes in. I'm sure Firefly's thinking, what? Locust Waves? What's going on, Papi? Good force fields once again slicing up the army. Getting on top of these Queens. And the Immortals, they just pack such a massive punch. Another Warpin is coming in behind this. Firefly banking up a lot of minerals. We need those Zealots. There it is. 7 Zealots are on the way. Serral trying to get on top of those Immortals. Does trigger the shields. And does Firefly have barely enough to break Serral? Serral, he's running out of units. He's running out of roaches. The Biles will not connect. Smooth moves out of Firefly, but he bleeds out all of his Zealots. But we have another wave. We have another wave on the way, another wave of reinforcements. And again, I do think that maybe Serral did misread the game, did misread the situation. Swarm Host coming from behind, but the Locust Waves does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. The third base has been broken, and now Serral is up against the wall. He's now down to only 2 bases, and he cannot lose his natural. As Firefly, he's breaking on through. The Immortals have been juggled and up. The first Immortal is going to go down, but GG gets called. It's too much, and Firefly takes game 1. Let's go. GG. This is what I'm talking about. Firefly, he was the ace player. He was the ace player of the Starving Camels, and that doesn't mean nothing. That means everything. Firefly can take it to anyone, even the best Zerg player in the world, even Serral. GG. Oh my god. Again, it was a 3-base all-in out of Firefly. We saw that as soon as we saw the Forge and the Robo. There was no Twilight Council. Fun fact, the Swarm Hosts, I should talk about that at least from Serral's perspective. Swarm Hosts are viable in this matchup, and you typically go for Swarm Hosts if you believe your opponent is going for something like Charge Lot Archon. For a Charge Lot Archon based composition, not Blink Stalkers. And Serral accurately read that there were no Blink Stalkers, but I don't think Serral was able to piece together that it was a 3-base all-in out of Firefly, that Firefly was going to be in his face. The Swarm Hosts clearly were not a good investment in that situation, and yeah, Serral just maybe was thinking a little bit further ahead, maybe was just making a couple of assumptions, and he was caught with his pants down. Straight up, GG. GG. Firefly kicks off with a 1-0 lead, and can he keep on going? So again, if you're watching WTL for the first time, this is what we expect to be seeing from Firefly. You know, there's a reason why we can never believe our eyes, because 10,000 Fireflies. It's he would consistently take down some big names when he was on the Starving Camels, and that is continuing to be the case here on the Platinum Heroes as well. I mentioned earlier, I think I was talking to Asher at the time, how for a long time we consider DNS to be the ace player of the Platinum Heroes. I think he impressed us more than Goblin last season. DNS was popping off for the Platinum Heroes, but now that Firefly has joined the Platinum Heroes potentially they may have a new ace player. You could make an argument that Firefly is more consistent or has more upsets within him, or more upset potential than DNS does, which is maybe a little bit blasphemous. I mean, DNS, like, we're big fans, and again, he impressed us so much last season, but so did Firefly. They are 2 star players, respectively the MVPs of their respective teams, and now they've come together in the Platinum Heroes, and we'll see what they can do together as well. Meanwhile, Serral's map of choice is going to be Hard Lead. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, oh, a little bit blurred out, it is Firefly for the Platinum Heroes. And in the bottom right-hand corner, we have a Team Basilisk. It is Serral. Again, this was Serral's map pick. Hard Lead. Longer rushes by ground. That is something that we brought up, or that we brought up at the start of Oceanborn, is that because of the short rushes by ground, these aggressive plays do fare well on Oceanborn. Here on Hard Lead, longer rush distance, you have more time to yourself, you have more breathing room. Serral should be feeling more comfortable on this map, and a ground-based all-in is going to be a little bit more difficult to really execute here on this map by Firefly. Meanwhile, already, the unnatural natural is forced out of Serral, so Firefly is going to make him a little bit uncomfortable, but at this stage of the meta, and you know, in current year, I'm sure Serral, he's more than comfortable expanding and taking the unnatural natural. It's happened many times in the past. It's all good. It's standard, Bobby, standard. As the probe slips into the main base, confirming the hatch gas pool opener, confirming that Serral isn't going for anything too crazy otherwise. I see in the chat, once a camel, always a camel. Let's go. Always, Bobby. I can't believe my eyes. I'm just catching up in the chat. It's beautiful. But yeah, so far, very standard openers here from both Firefly and Serral. Tis what we should expect. Really, it's the follow-up that we're going to be keeping our eyes on instead. Toss patch confirmed. I mean, Firefly was doing this last patch as well. So I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair to say. Again, if you're familiar with Firefly, then you would know that, again, mate, doesn't matter what kind of goat he's up against. He eats the goats, Pappy. He eats them. He likes them. As we have a Stargate opener here from Firefly as well. So again, everything's looking normal and standard, just like the previous game. Once the third base gets taken, that's when the follow-up tech is chosen from the Protoss, and that's when we are going to be keeping our eyes on that production tab. Whether we see a Twilight Council on its own, maybe a Twilight Council. Oh my god, already! Pappy. That is a very fast Twilight Council out of Firefly. Disturbingly fast, actually. I'm a little bit off guard. So, part of me feels like this is... God, part of me feels like this is going to be Glaive Adepts. Phoenix is on the way to deny the scout, so Phoenix is going to be hunting down these overlords and keeping Serral in the dark. I feel like Glaives, but again, this is like faster than normal, so we could see something different. 3 gateways are thrown down, 4 in total. There it is. Glaive Adepts are on the way for Firefly, but a much more aggressive variation from our Protoss. Now, what's important is that usually, as the Overlord is being hunted down, so usually when we see Glaive Adepts after a Stargate opener, we still get a third. Like, usually you still get a third base, and the third base helps mask the Glaive Adept follow-up, because it makes it look standard, makes it look normal. Firefly here isn't taking a third base. He isn't expanding, so already Serral should be recognizing that something is wrong. Something is not quite right here. Why are you still on 2 bases? And because of that, that's why I'm not too fond of this, because Firefly is already telegraphing to Serral that he's doing something aggressive. Like, Serral, he's already on notice, but Serral isn't quite sure what exactly is happening. Could be Sky Toss, could be 2 base Immortal all in, could be a Charger all in. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of potential here for what Firefly could be doing. And here we go, the Adepts are now shading across the map. Lings do get a read on the Adepts. They do delay the third base as well. Probe is going to go down, and Firefly is still stuck on 2 bases. Roach Warren is on the way. Now, Serral has been droning, but does he have enough Lings to keep up? Can he keep up as the Adepts do shade into that third? There they go, straight for the Queens. There is enough energy for one transfuse. The Lings, they're catching more Adepts. Third base is finally shown down. Finally thrown down even. But there are so many Lings available, and Firefly is getting surrounded. He is going to be shut down and not getting any drones. He does force lost mining time at the third base, but he doesn't kill anything. I think he got 1 queen. Aye. And this has not been worth it here for Firefly. These Adepts haven't done anywhere near enough damage. We have a second wave. We have another wave of Adepts on the way, but we have plenty of Lings to keep up. Yeah, and Serral, he just swats away this push. Behind this, we have a Roach Warren. Roaches are in production. Firefly trying to take up towards Disruptors, towards that Robotics Bay. But Firefly's in a really rough position. His third base is delayed. He doesn't have Blink. He doesn't have Charge. His army doesn't scale well as the game goes on. Oh, and he gets completely surrounded. This third base is going to be cancelled. Oh no, it's going to be killed. We let it finish. That's going to be a kill, not a cancel on the Nexus. The wall is not a wall. We could have just gone in. We had the option there. And you can see Firefly, even though he's blurry, he did lean back in his chair. Like, he knows that things are not looking good for him. As Serral throws down an Infestation Pit. If he wanted to, he could actually make Swarm Host work. With Swarm Host, they can do quite well here. Yeah, and again, a big reaction out of Firefly on cams. Not looking good. As the Lings are just continuing to harass, continuing to keep tabs here on Firefly, catching an Adept. Overseer slips in, confirming the follow-up scout. I don't think Serral has seen the robotics bay yet. Potentially he has, and if he has, then, I mean, he's fully aware of what's going on. It is not Disruptors, we're getting to Colossus instead. That will help against the Lings. Extend Thermal Lances on the way. And the infestation bit is going to be for Hive tech. We have a Hive on the way, Hydras, the Hive grants access to Vipers. Serral, he's just getting further and further ahead. If he wanted to, we could try to go all in and kill Firefly, but Serral doesn't need to. He can just take it slow and steady instead. Force fields are thrown down. They will protect this third base a little bit longer. You know, Firefly, he's holding, he's surviving. But is he really living? As Serral's just happily droning back at home, taking a fourth base. Once the Hive is done, we can get into Vipers, and Vipers are going to be just shutting down not just the Colossus, but also the Immortals, any kind of high-tech units we can abduct. We can shut down. Firefly, he throws out a second Stargate for some Sky Toss, and fair enough. You know, we have to, you know, throw whatever you can at the wall, and we'll see what sticks. Again, Firefly is in a really desperate situation at the moment. He even throws down a third Stargate. He's amassing Phoenixes right now, and they can help. They can even help zone away and shut down the Vipers. But 4 Vipers are on the way. And once they have their energy, Serral is going to be moving out. Serral, he's on the cusp. He's on the brink of maxing. Lings, Hydras, +2. The Eps are attempting to harass across the map and trying to keep Serral busy. Like, Firefly needs time. That's really what he needs. He needs time right now to himself. He needs Serral to just back off. But that is not going to happen. As here we go, the Vipers are full of energy, filled to the brim. Overflowing, Papi. Prism is keeping some roaches pinned back at home, but here we go, we are committed to the push, so the yoinks come in, we get to the Colossus, every single Immortal as well. Overcharge does what it can. We just yoink in the rest of those reinforcements. And the Roach Hydra army is just overwhelming what Firefly has. The Overcharge is putting in a lot of work, but GG gets called, and Serral takes game number 2, tying up the series 1-1. GG. And again, a very solid game 2 out of Serral, identifying he didn't quite scout what exactly was going on at the beginning of the game, but of course he was able to recognize, hold up, you're on 2 bases, you don't have a third, let me just make sure I don't overdrone, make sure I get a Roach Warren on time, and with his Lings that were harassing, he was able to delay the third and also confirm the Adepts that were coming across the map. So yeah, just really solid play overall out of Serral in game 2. But big shout out to Firefly, because mate, he popped off in game 1 and he's making a series out of this. For Serral to drop a game, mate, the morale for the Platinum Heroes, mate, they've got to be off they got to be popping off, Papi. Just saying, right? Like, for Firefly to take a game, that is huge. And suddenly, the Platinum Heroes have a chance. They have a chance here to cause an upset and to bring down Team Basilisk. It's still not easy, you know. Team Basilisk, they aren't just Team Serral. They have Trigger, they have Reynor, they have some big names, respectable names. So it's not going to be easy, but it's possible. So best of luck to the Platinum Heroes, and very well done to Firefly to give them this opportunity and to make the dream potentially a reality, as we will be paying out those predictions. DNS, he thrives in a more standard macro game, and he's willing to take you to the late game as well. Doesn't matter if you're Maru, doesn't matter if you're Serral, DNS has no fear. He's willing to go the distance and look good doing it as well. Very impressive, very impressive. A PvP is different. You know, as much as I want to praise DNS's macro, the reality is that PvP is a different beast and it is more chaotic in nature. So Can DNS thrive in the chaos? Can he keep up with Trigger? Can Trigger keep up with DNS? I'm curious. I am curious. I'm excited to find out, as we are just preparing here for the lobbies. Once we get the lobby ready, we will be posting those predictions, so you have a little bit of time to yourselves to kind of ruminate and think about who you think is going to be taking this and how this series is going to go. Again, Trigger, he is I've been talking a lot about DNS, and it's fun always talking up the underdogs, but Trigger, he is a rising star. You know, he may be the weakest link on Team Basilisk. Like when we compare Trigger to Serral and Reynor, like Serral and Reynor, they are champions, they are world champions in their own right. Trigger isn't quite there, but Trigger is a rising star. He is one of the best players in North America. I would say the top 3 players in NA are Estrella, Scarlet, and Trigger. And sometimes Trigger, he does go back and forth in trade series with Estrella and Scarlet as well. So 3 of them are quite strong in their own right and pretty comparable with each other. So Trigger is one of the best there in NA, and he very frequently does go toe-to-toe with the Koreans and with the Europeans as well. I would say that Trigger's best matchup is PVT. We have seen, I think it was even Kung Fu Cup. Trigger took out Cure. He defeated Cure in Kung Fu Cup. That's a good example to kind of show you how powerful his PVT is. We've seen Trigger not just defeat Cure, but he's beaten Byun, he's beaten Gumiho, and he's gone toe-to-toe with Maru in the late game of PVT as well. So that is where Trigger's strengths lie in that matchup, I feel. The other matchups a little bit less so. So maybe unfortunate, but that he doesn't have a Terran opponent. But at the same time, it's the Platinum Heroes, and they're mainly a Protoss team. You know, it's Firefly, DNS, ShaDoWn, Goblin. They rely a lot on Protoss. Last week we got to see Migs. Vindicta, he was fielded last week, which was great to see, but usually the Platinum Heroes, they rely on the Protoss instead. And as a result, PvP should have been, you know, foreseeable here for Trigger. And yeah, again, he's no slouch. You know, for Trigger to trade series with Estrella shows that clearly, you know, he can take down some big names in PvPs, but it's still unpredictable. Sweet. It has very little minerality and none of the gamey flavor compounds you might find in lamb. It's highly adaptable to other flavors without overpowering them, making it perfect as a more neutral meat choice for curries, stews, and other dishes. Thank you, Frost. Thank you, Frost. We appreciate it, Bobby. We appreciate it. Firefly is playing Toss the best. He knows how to play Protoss, Bobby. He knows. As we are getting ready for this lobby, which means predictions are open. Predictions are open in the chat. Place your bets on how you think this series is going to go. A 2-0 in either direction or a 1-1. And oh my god, they're putting Trigger down at 400. Papi. I can't get behind these scores. I can't get behind them. They are rating DNS very highly, and I understand. So I understand why. So again, DNS was very impressive last season. Very impressive for his team. Trigger was struggling a little bit more, and here we go in the top right hand corner for the Platinum Heroes. We have DNS, and spawning in the bottom left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have, for Team Basilisk, Trigger. Whew. All right. Here we go. And again, DNS, he was overperforming last season. He really caught us off guard, and he was getting some very impressive results. So I guess it makes sense as to why his ELO rating would be a little bit higher there. Meanwhile, Trigger, he did underperform a little bit for his team, did at times struggle. So yeah, the ELO ratings are brutal. What I will say as well that probably adds to that is that Trigger is more active. Like Trigger, he does compete in more Kung Fu Cups, and that does, I think, also influence the ELO rating. The fact that Trigger is more active there and maybe taking some more losses in those rounds. That is possible. That is possible. But here we go. We're getting into this, and so far, double gate openers all around from both Trigger and DNS. Makes sense. There is no ramp leading into the natural base, so it is not safe to go for a gate expand, so no economic openers. And now we get to play our favorite game. I miss playing this game with Asher. What 2 units are going to be coming out from our players? It's either going to be double Stalker, Double Adept, Stalker Adept, or Stalker Sentry. Each one has their own role, each one kind of favors different playstyle and gives us some insight as to how they are approaching this game and how aggressive or how defensive they mean on being. As here we go, waiting for the Cybercores to finish up, and Trigger goes for the double Stalker, so does DNS. Okay, so both players looking to vie for map control, both players are going for very solid openers. Again, if we wanted to be a little bit safer, we would have gone for a faster Sentry, so a Stalker Sentry. If we wanted to be more aggressive, we would have seen double Adept. But instead, right down the middle, double Stalker. Let's go. So far, no one is flinching, no one is really deviating from the course. Not yet. Both players are setting up for their expansions on the low ground. Ooh, as DNS follows up his two Stalkers with double Adept, actually. Okay. Adepts are going to be the follow-up here, and DNS, he delays his expansion, and he goes for a Twilight Council. So does Trigger. Trigger also delays his expansion, but he goes for, instead of a Twilight Council, a Stargate. Okay, so Papi, we're being aggressive. We are being aggressive in different ways. Okay, so the Stargate opener from Trigger looks like he wants to expand and deal economic damage across the map. DNS, with a faster Twilight Council, he could set up a proxy gateway and he could go for a one base all-in. That is the difference. The difference here is that Trigger is still being economic and DNS has the potential to go all-in. Dark Shrine is thrown. Oh my god. Dark Shrine is thrown down for DNS. The Invisible Man is on the way. Dark Shrine in the main base. Bold move. It is not proxied. Expansion is taken. And Trigger notices how late the expansion is, so he knows that tech was thrown down. He knows that it's either a Twilight Council or a Stargate, or maybe even a Robo. As he does recall back home, Adepts do shade into the main base. You mentioned earlier it was a double Adept follow-up. They don't get much done, but they force Trigger back home, and they scout the Sentry. Oh, as the Adepts are hunted down. Uh-oh, something important just happened. Do we have enough for a hallucination? We do, okay. No, okay, that's the Oracle. I was like, we wasted energy on that force field, not on the hallucination, but we do have the Oracle coming across the map. Meanwhile, the Stalkers, they do rock up as well, forcing the boys off the mineral line. Probes are going down. The Oracle slips into the main base, and it will scout the Dark Shrine. Oh my god, we're going for the stasis trap. Up! DNS! He's not looking! Oh, DNS is focusing on his push, and he is being deflected. He will lose a Stalker, and I believe we saw a big stasis trap go off. I don't know for certain, but yeah. I almost every single probe. DNS a little bit too distracted, and his Dark Shrine got scouted, which means these DTs should not do any damage. We should have detection back at home in time. Oracles are on the way, or the Oracle's racing back home for that revelation. DTs are warping in. Can we make up for that economic deficit? Can we make up for it as the DT does a push on forward? Has been spotted, good hold position. There's the revelation. And the DT goes down. But revelation only does hit one DT. The other slips into the mineral line and will force quite a lot of lost mining time. Ooh, before going down. And this is a rough start for our blue Protoss. A very rough start. We saw a big stasis trap go off in the main base, and the Dark Shrine opener did not do enough damage. We delayed our expansion to try to pull that off, and Trigger, he maintains his lead. Very solid lead. Meanwhile, DNS does throw down a proxy gateway across the map. I believe he is setting up for a 4-gate blink Stalker. DNS looking to be hyper aggressive. He wants to try to make up for his losses. He does take down one of those Stalkers. He can take down another as well. Remember, Trigger does not have blink. Oh no! But he can target fire, and he does take down another Stalker. Oh my, and oh my god! Trigger! Very good target firing. Despite not having blink, he does punish DNS, does out-control him. He is losing ground. There is no shield battery on the low ground. A little bit surprising. No shield battery, no overcharge. But we have an immortal. Which means that Trigger is holding. Behind this, he's getting into additional gateways, continuing immortal production. We are going to be diving on top of this DNS again. He is all in. He takes down the immortal. And again, no shield battery. The boys are pulled. Trigger barely holding on, taking down another 2 stalkers. Oh, the Oracle, it's back. No, not again. Thank God. Oh no, with the second stasis trap. It's not spotted. Ah. Massive stasis trap goes off in the main base. The boys are being pulled once again. Finally, we see a shield battery. Trigger, he has been so greedy in his defense, and he may be punished for it. Stalkers are going down one after the other. Trigger did lose his immortal earlier, but a second immortal shows up just in time. Trigger holds. But this has been closer than it should be. Trigger, he's been forced to pull the boys and he's been losing workers time and time again because, again, he just refused to throw down his shield battery. Finally, he will have one, but doesn't matter because DNS is still very committed. He's here once again with another wave of reinforcements. Takes down a Stalker, takes down the Immortal. Not enough energy for an overcharge. And DNS, can he break through? A third Immortal shows up once again just in time. Trigger holds. Whew. But DNS is looking to expand and take a third base behind this. He is no longer all in. He is expanding. He is looking to get ahead economically. Oh, as the depths are shading into the main. Decent force fields. We do catch 2 Stalkers. The depths, they do commit to the shade. 4 probes go down. And now DNS, he is up 10 workers. He is up 10 workers compared to Trigger. And he is just pulling Trigger apart, getting even more probes. Oh my god, and a sentry. 6 probes and a sentry. Trigger now struggling here. Despite having some good moments, don't get me wrong, he's now far behind in the economy. He has immortals, sure, and he has +1. No, not again. That's the 3rd time. It's not even the 3rd time that we're getting stasis traps. It's just that these stasis traps are brutal. Just every time they get the entire mineral line. So Trigger, he's fighting back once again, like just denying an entire base from mining. So he is still in this, but I still give the edge to DNS. But here we go, +2 is on the way. The quality of Trigger's army is going to be insane. He is going to be up 2-0 compared to DNS with 0 upgrades is what I mean. As +2 is on the way. We have the Immortals as well, and here we go. Trigger pushing through the center of the map. At least threatening a push. Oh no, not again. No, not again, Papi. Okay. This time we pull back. This time we react in time. As this proxy gateway is finally going to be shut down. And Trigger is all in. He has not been making workers. He's not expanding. He's not taking a 3rd base. He makes a Warp Prism. And DNS is going to be sending... Sorry, Trigger is going to be sending everything across the map. Again, he is going to be hitting with +2. He has the Immortal lead. He may not have the economy behind it, but he has the army as he does take down a Stalker in the process. Oh, just barely doesn't, actually. Now, DNS, all he has to do is hold on. He just has to pull off a defense. He can afford to give up the 3rd. The 3rd is not the end-all be-all, but an awkward blink. Does beat out a couple of Stalkers. There are shield batteries in position. Pops the overcharge. Forces Trigger back. Giving DNS more time to warp in. But now the overcharge is on cooldown. Trigger tries to rotate around. He dives on top of the Immortals. Does get 1. Takes down 1 Immortal. The other is forced back. Trigger has the high ground. He has the concave. Has an overwhelming army. And it looks like Trigger will still be able to pull this off. As he takes control of the 3rd. DNS has almost nothing left. He has probes. He had probes. Not anymore. Oh, DTs! Oh my god. I've forgotten about you. DTs are waddling on in, doing what they can. But Trigger, he just ignores them. Goes straight for the kill, straight for the army. Takes everything down. Observers on the way. And these DTs, they will eventually kill this army, but with the detection that's making its way across the map, and Trigger, he cleans up the DTs. DNS, I think he wants to try to snipe the observer. I think that's his only way, but GG gets called, and Trigger takes game number 1. Whew. But that was not an easy game. Aye. GG, well played. Trigger will take the first game, but if it was, imagine a world where those stasis traps weren't popping off. If they weren't getting literally the most damage they could, then maybe DNS is able to overwhelm Trigger. You know, he was pulling him apart. He forced the all-in out of Trigger as well. If DNS had a slightly better economy, then maybe he would have been able to afford extra warp bins, afford extra immortals, shield batteries, a better position overall. Here we go. Oceanborn is coming up next. Interesting map choice. Once again, short rushes is by ground, so you can be very aggressive here on 2 bases, or aggressive in general, whether it's 2 base, even 1 base play. Likewise, the natural is a little bit more exposed. There is no ramp coming into the natural. Similar to Solaris, to be fair. Very similar to Solaris, as there is no ramp. So you can maybe try to take advantage of that as well. I'm curious what the plan of DNS is going to be. As we are just going to be preparing that lobby. And as a reminder, this is merely the second matchup here of the night. We are currently tied up 1-1. I mean, I say that Trigger, or now Team BASILISK, they lead the series 2-1. And can Trigger extend that lead, or can DNS tie it up? Completely tie it up, and yeah, maybe even allow ShaDoWn to force an ace match later on down the line. Here we go. Meanwhile, a shout out to Inch to Maniac. Thank you so much for resubscribing for 7 months. Thank you, Poppy. Thank you so much. We appreciate the support. Hope you enjoy the content. Hope you enjoy the emotes as we are getting into game 2 and spawning in the bottom right hand corner. For the Platinum Heroes, we have DNS. And spawning in the top left, we have his opponents. For Team BASILISK, Trigger. Leading the series 1-0. Here we go. As we are getting into our openers, and once again we should be seeing double gate openers from both DNS and Trigger. These openers shouldn't really be too fancy or too different. Really, we're going to be looking at the first 2 units. The initial units here from our players, whether we see Stalkers, Adepts, Sentries, that will give us a glimpse of how they want to approach this game. How they want to approach game 2. Bearing in mind, this was DNS's map of choice. So my eyes are really on him, as a probe is moving out in a very interesting direction. DNS, where are we going? Are we saying, oh, but Trigger, he's checking. He's going right there. He's making a beeline for DNS. Proxy pylon is thrown down. Trigger, though, he is checking this location. He's actually throwing down his own pylon, which is spotted and scouted by DNS. Uh-oh. Bit of a Spider-Man meme as we are forced to cancel the pylon. And Trigger doesn't check. He was about to, but he doesn't check that area. He doesn't see the pylon of DNS. Not yet, but he does double back. And he is going to be... Oh, no! He was going to be checking that location, but he doesn't quite hug the edge of the wall. Now, not the biggest of deals. This was a fake proxy pylon. What I mean by that is that when this probe gets across the map, it is going to be confirming that there's only one, or that we are missing a pylon. But it's not going to be the biggest of tells here, as Trigger is going to be delaying his expansion. He's going for a faster Stargate. Okay. Faster Stargate out of Trigger. Meanwhile, DNS does deny the scout of his opponent, does keep Trigger in the dark, as Adepts are on the way. So Trigger, very aggressive. He's going to have Adepts to harass and have Oracles to harass as well. Meanwhile, interesting choice, DNS likewise also goes for his own Stargates, far later than his opponents. It is a delayed Stargate, but a Stargate nonetheless. Oh my god, DNS being cheeky here. He had a pylon block, and now he throws down a cyber core as well, delaying the expansion even further. Oh my god, you can see Trigger shaking his head for a moment, as this is very annoying. And again, we shouldn't be seeing a kill, we should be seeing a cancel on this. Hallucination comes in from DNS as he did go for a sentry opener, and he does confirm that oracles are on the way. Now, the oracles are the MVP, well, they were the MVPs of game 1 for Trigger, like straight up, like they were doing so much, they were just lifting so much for Trigger. Can he do it again? As the oracle does find the pylon of DNS, does come across it. Oh, and DNS is going for a Phoenix here. It is a late Phoenix, but an interesting decision here from our Protoss. The Adepts are caught out. One of them goes down. Meanwhile, Trigger is shutting down that proxy. Oracle attempts to get damage done in the main base, but the Phoenix does force a recall, and DNS takes map control. As DNS is going to try to hunt down these two Stalkers. Can he catch them, or is Trigger going to be forced to recall? I think he is. As Trigger, he's just sucking it in, trying to hug the wall. Has been spotted. And he is going to be hunted down. There is no escape. And both Stalkers will fall. Pretty big pickoff here for DNS. Very efficient trade. Behind this, both players are getting into their natural bases. The Oracle of Trigger is still alive, so DNS is looking to hunt it down, if possible. As we get into Blink Stalkers. Hallucination is hunted down, but it does confirm the Twilight Council being researched. The upgrade being researched on the Twilight Council, so... Again, DNS is aware that Blink is on the way, just like himself. And after all said and done, actually Trigger has a pretty substantial worker lead. A little bit surprising, but yeah, Trigger, he is up 4 workers compared to his opponents. I spoke too soon. As one probe is going to go down. But it's a slight lead, but a lead nonetheless. Something to bear in mind. This Trigger is looking to expand, take the 3rd base. Oh, Phoenix taking a lot of hits. Almost goes down. As Trigger is just establishing his 3rd base. DNS does see this. Bear that in mind. He's fully aware that he is now down a base. And he has the option to go for a 3rd of his own or double down and maybe go for an all-in. But there it is. 3rd base is being taken from our blue Protoss. As Trigger moves out across the map, confirming that for himself. Confirming the base being taken. He won't quite commit to the attack. But again, both players are just keeping tabs on each other. Pretty standard play so far. Like, the early game was a little bit chaotic with the proxy pylons and with the Stargate openers, but now things are settling on down. Stasis traps are thrown down back at home as well, so Trigger clearly just looking to get into the mid game. Forge is on the way for +1. No big deviations when it comes to tech. No one is rushing into a Robotics Bay for disruptors or a Templar Archives for Archons. No Dark Shrine for DTs. Just some standard play here from our 2 Protoss. And I mentioned before that it feels like this is where DNS thrives the most. I was praising DNS's macro play earlier, talking about how he is not afraid to go toe-to-toe in the late game with players like Serral and Maru and Reynor. And it looks like that's what's going to be happening here. Looking to settle things down and go toe-to-toe with Trigger in a longer game. So we just take this moment here for ourselves. during the break, I got some tea. Did get some tea. I haven't been able to drink any of it yet, but I have it. I do have it. As both players are just focusing on just scanning each other with these hallucinations, just checking each other time and time again, making sure that what I mentioned earlier didn't come to pass, like any kind of hidden tech like a Robotics Bay or a Dark Shrine. You want to be on top of that sort of thing. DNS is going to be taking his 4th base. Trigger still focusing on just building up his army. Looking at the armies themselves, we have Trigger with mainly a Blink Stalker based composition. DNS does have a couple of Immortals mixed in. By a couple, I mean one. And there's our first tech choice. Dark Shrine is thrown down for DNS. Dark Shrine alongside soon to be +2. Trigger a little bit faster there with his upgrades, already working on his own +2. Could take advantage of that. Could try to hit a timing, but it's a very narrow one. Yeah, we can see that DNS is only a couple of seconds behind with his own upgrade. And we are still just building up our forces. DNS does have a War Prism on the way, and that does tell us that with this War Prism he can start to reinforce and push across the map. But that War Prism may just be for the Dark Templar. Dark Shrine is about to finish up, so by the time the Prism gets across the map, he can warp in some DTs and go straight for the main. I imagine that's going to be the plan here, but we have cannons in position. And Trigger, instead of going for the Dark Shrine, is going straight for the Bay. And I do think that trumps DTs in a way. Like, DTs are good to harass. Disruptors, they're good for a big fight. They do well in the main army. Alright, here we go. The Prism has arrived. DTs have hit the field. We have one that's going to be waddling towards that 4th. We have the Prism that's making its way into the main. At the same time, DNS is being active with his main army, pushing through the center, looking to distract his opponent, while the DTs wreak havoc in those mineral lines. Can he pull apart the attention of a Trigger? And here we go. He pulls the trigger. He's going for it. We have the DT headed towards that 4th base. The Prism is going into the main. There we go. Trigger brings everything back home. Meanwhile, DNS also pushing forward with his main army. So far, no major damage. The DTs do get into the main base, but they're really just on the production. Sorry. Zealot warp in as well. Again, forcing a recall into the main. And DNS, can he take advantage of this situation? Can he take advantage of the chaos? As Trigger is split apart, but he's got that's a lot of stalkers. Trigger has an insane stalker army. Gonna be losing 7 probes. But he will clean this up, and DNS was unable to take advantage of this. Was unable to find an opening. Does go for another big Zealot warp in though. Right for the main. Here he goes, pushing into the 4th. He's got a decent concave. He's got that one immortal as well. He is slowly gaining ground, but we have a shield battery. We have an overcharge. Trigger does hold, but he does not save his workers. 17 probes. Oh my god. Those Zealots, they did a lot of work in the main. An entire mineral line goes down. DNS now has an economic lead, and he's getting into his own disruptors. He's actually making more. DNS is making 2 disruptors at a time with that double robot production. But something we have to talk about is the disruptor. It is the great equalizer. Doesn't matter if you're up or down in supply. One good Nova could change everything. Anything could change it all. Disruptors, they can win an engagement on their own with one good Nova. So this is still neck and neck. This is still anyone's game. As DNS is rotating towards that 4th base once again, he does snipe the snipe the Oracle. Oh! Nova goes off. Takes out 1 Stalker. Disruptors have been revealed. Big station trap does go off. Oof. as Trigger will lose one of his disruptors. DTs do go for a big backstab as well. They take down the cannons, they take down the pylons, and 6 probes at the same time. DNS pushing on forward. Nova goes off. No! Trigger loses his last disruptor. No disruptors available. Only Stalkers left here for the Protoss player, for the red Protoss. Novas go off. They will not connect. Clutch blink. He has one more disruptor coming in. But it looks like the disruptor went down. Nova's going to be going off. Big connection on Trigger. But DNS, he has to calm down. He has to calm down here as we traded blow for blow. 3 disruptors for 2. DNS does have a worker lead. He does have a better economy here to just remax, rebuild. But he has to back off, lick his wounds. And Trigger, even though his disruptor count got reset, it is slowly building back up. But remember, Trigger only has 1 robo. He's only making 1 disruptor at a time. DNS is making 2. Second robo is on the way for Trigger. Third robo is on the way for DNS. As he pushes on forward. Nova's not quite connecting for Trigger. The disruptors arrive for DNS. As he's going to be rotating around. Trigger now up to 5 bases. Well, so is DNS, to be fair. But DNS is looking to break this expansion. Nova goes up. Zoning a Trigger away. Decent connections are going to be going off as well. Not quite, though, towards the end. As Trigger, he pounces on the army, but he takes a big Nova to the face. Loses all of his disruptors once again. At the same time, a DT counterattack taking down the mineral line. Trigger's being pulled apart. He's taking Novas to the face, and he's losing mineral lines to these DTs. There's no detection. No! There is no detection for Trigger. No observers are left. They were sniped earlier. They were sniped in the main fight. And Trigger is losing too much. He just lost his 5th, and he will lose the 4th. Aye. And what can Trigger do? He can't make observers, because if he makes observers, he can't make disruptors. And if he can't make disruptors, he's gonna die. It's a catch-22. He needs his disruptors, Papi. There we go. We have an observer on the way for Trigger. That will disrupt the disruptor production. Will disrupt the disruptor production. As Trigger loses his 4th, he's down to 3 bases. Now Trigger can still take a good fight. He can still snowball out of control. As long as he can connect with these Purification Novas. But they're being targeted down one after the other. DNS with some solid target fire. And Trigger cannot expand. It was slow and steady up until we got up to 4 bases, and then things started popping off. And then DNS just in every base all at once. Constant run-bys, constant dives on these disruptors as well. And Trigger just cannot keep up. Not against this kind of army. He has 3 observers now. Plenty of detection. Oh, but he's taking Nova after Nova to the face. Once again, we dive on the disruptors. DNS, he knows what he needs as he reinforces. GG gets called. He snowballs out of control, and DNS takes game number 2, tying it up 1-1. Shaking his head a little bit. I'm sure he's lamenting about game 1. I'm sure he's I think he's being a little bit hard on himself. He's like, I got it 2-0. Yes, true, but like Trigger, you know, he's still a strong player, and with that, we are tied up 1-1 all around. 2-2 here between Team Basilisk and the Platinum Heroes. It all comes down to this, and I understand the frustrations of DNS, you know, of maybe wanting more from himself and getting the 2-0. Because he didn't get the 2-0, there's a lot of pressure on ShaDoWn. I think I would go as far as to say that ShaDoWn is the weakest player here from this lineup of the Platinum Heroes. And ShaDoWn versus Reynor, it's going to be an uphill battle. It is going to be an uphill battle. If ShaDoWn takes 1 game, he forces the ace match. That's all he needs. 1 game, Bobby. 1 game. Can he do it? against, you know, a world champion, against Reynor. Reynor is no slouch. At times he can be overshadowed by Serral on Team BASILISK, but Reynor is still a world-class player. He's still a shout out to Shiva Blaster. I apologize for not noticing earlier, but a shout out to Shiva Blaster in the chat for gifting the sub to Inch the Maniac. Thank you so much, Papi. Thank you so much. Fixing his own ELO. I feel like it deserves to be higher. Am I crazy? Did Mana have a higher ELO than Reynor? Am I misremembering? I feel like there was a player on Team Liquid that was like 700. I think Mana was, yeah, like 700, right? Why is Reynor 6? What's going on? Yo, we need to crunch these numbers. What's happening right now? Why is his ELO so low? Shaking my head. Yeah. As we are preparing for our next match. So even though the ELOs are relatively close, Reynor, he is still a world champion. He's still one of the best Zerg players in the world, and he is still coming in as the clear favorite. But as a reminder, Reynor didn't play that well last season. It was the previous season, if you remember. I remember Reynor, he got a lot of flack. It was the season where Reynor was on CranKy Gaming. It was I think last year, maybe the start of last year, when Reynor was on CranKy Gaming. He did struggle quite a bit. He did underperform, and I'm pretty sure they're getting the rankings and the stats for these ELOs from the beginning, from the very first WTL, and they're kind of aggregating from there, if I'm not mistaken. That's why the graph like starts. I think the graph starts from season 1. It goes season 1, 2, 3, and just goes all the way to current season 6. And here we go. We're getting into our next game. In the bottom left-hand corner of our Sione, we have ShaDoWn for the Platinum Heroes. And in the top right, ooh, going for a 15 hatch, we have Reynor for Team BASILISK. All right, here we go. It all comes down to this. We are tied up 2-2, and this will be our final best of 2 of the night. Now, to wind it all back here, Reynor with his 15 hatch opener in this matchup does mean that he does get the natural base up and running on location. This is going to delay the gas goes. It is going to delay the gas though, as it's going to be a 15 hatch into a 15 spawning pool. Sorry, I'm just recovering from coughing earlier. I did. Alright, we're good, Bobby. We're good. But typically with this opener, to make up for how early your hatchery is and how late your gas is, you typically are going to be cutting, or you're going to be as greedy as possible and delaying your gas for quite some time. This does mean that Reynor will have later ling speed than normal, and he's going to have to rely on slow lings and queens to defend here in the early to mid game. He may even go straight for a third base as well. I do know that there are openers like that, but there it is. Gas is taken. I was going to give a shout out to Lorimbo, as he has been quite fond of a gasless style opener. He's an animal. But much love, much love. As again, Reynor to just go for a safer opener. I believe technically this is a little bit less optimal, and it is less economic, but it is safer because you get your natural base on location. It does mean that if ShaDoWn was going to go for a Twilight Council opener into Glaive Adepts, then he will have a harder time doing damage and a harder time crippling the economy here of Reynor as well. As, oh, we have our tech of choice. It is not going to be a Twilight Council opener. We have a Stargate from ShaDoWn. Very standard opener so far. Again, my eyes are still on ShaDoWn to try to surpass the skill difference here between himself and Reynor. Again, Reynor is a world-class player. He is coming in as the favorite. I don't want to, sugarcoat that. But upsets can occur. We even saw Firefly take down Serral earlier. So we'll see if ShaDoWn can do the same. Again, so far it's going to be a Stargate opener. This should be leading into a third base, but we're going to be keeping our eye on the follow-up tech from there, whether we go for a Twilight Council and a Forge, whether we go for a Robo Forge, or just a straight-up Twilight Council. They all lead into different things. They all lead into different forms of aggression. Assuming we expand, because that is a very fast Twilight Council out of ShaDoWn. This is looking like Glaive Adepts. This is looking very similar to what I believe Firefly did game 2 against Serral. If I am not mistaken. There we go, we have 3 more gates on the way. It's going to be 4 gates in total. Ooh, as Reynor is going for an early... Oh my god, that is a very early lair out of Reynor. This is looking like a Ling Queen Nidusol in. I'm curious. I think this was a 3-minute 30 lair timing, so very early here from our Zerg player. I wonder if he's just being safe and if he just wants detection. Regardless, Link Speed is finally on the way. Link Speed was delayed. Link Speed before lair. Reynor may be in some trouble. I'm concerned. I'm very concerned here for Reynor, because with this giga late link speed, the Adepts are going to get across the map, and how are we going to deal with it? No roaches, no speedlings, only queens and slowlings. I'm just I'm a little bit speechless here as to how delayed link speed is, and again, we'll see if ShaDoWn can take advantage of that. As he is warping in Adepts back at home, getting ready for his assault. We have a Hydra Den on the way, and fun fact, Adepts are good against all things light, whether they're Lings or even Hydras. So this is going to be a very interesting dynamic. Very interesting, as Ling Speed is going to finish up in time. Lings are on the way, and Reynor, he's going for a bit of a Mia Micah here. Just rushing into Hydra Tech and going Ling Hydra. I'm still dying. But yeah, straight up Ling Hydra. Let's go. This is something that Mia Micah did popularize in a way, and it has been buffed in recent times. But here we go. That's a mass amount of Adepts rocking up. Ling Speed did finish. Hydras are on the way. But this is the first that Reynor has seen these Adepts, and here we go. The boys, they have to be pulled. There are Lings to deal with this, but oh my god, they do get a surround, but there are so many Adepts. They annihilate the Lings. Hydras pop out, but again, Hydras are not ideal against Adepts either. These are going to be some expensive losses for Reynor. Drones are going down left and right in the main, in the natural, and we have more Adepts rocking up at the third base as well. Reynor is being pulled apart. He is amassing a Hydra army, but his economy is in shambles. And again, he was even bleeding out a couple of Hydras earlier, as more drones are going down. Only 13 so far, still a manageable amount. ShaDoWn does take a worker lead, but even more drones are falling. Ay. Reynor blindly going Ling Hydra is being punished for it. Blindly as well, to be fair. Like, I don't think ShaDoWn was aware at all as to the fact that Reynor was going to be rushing into lair and rushing into Hydras of all things. 17 drones do go down. ShaDoWn does maintain a worker lead. Back at home, he's preparing for the counterattack with stasis traps, with a robo, with a robotic spade. And I love this. Colossus, again, Ling Hydra is powerful against a gateway composition. I'm talking like Stalkers, even like Charge Lot Archon. Ling Hydra can, or Ling Bane Hydra can do okay against it. But double Colossus production, that is just so good for ShaDoWn. Colossus, they melt, they annihilate, they just cut a massive wave of Ling Bane Hydra like it was nothing. I'm really concerned here. Like, Reynor, he's up against the wall. I feel like his best option right now, if he scouted what was happening, is to go into Lurkers. I feel like Lurkers are his only option, his only way to survive. Without Lurkers, once we hit critical mass, once we get up to 4 Colossus, I don't know how Reynor can engage. But before we can talk about that, Reynor is pushing. And even though we have some Colossus out, even though we have a third and fourth Colossus on the way, we don't really have that much to support them. We don't really have that much to buffer for ShaDoWn. We need gateway units. ShaDoWn, he's got almost 1,000 minerals in the bank. He's not warping in. We need warp-ins. We need them now. Without them, ShaDoWn, he just doesn't have an army. And here we go. Finally, he does warp in a wave of Stalkers. Good stasis traps. The stasis traps are making up for the lack of army. Oh, overcharge was premature, though. This was a premature overcharge. It was wasted. And the Bailings are about to pop out of stasis. Here we go. Reynor getting ready for that second wave. Bailings are going to be rolling on in. More Colossus are arriving. Good positioning so far. One Colossus does get caught out. It does go down. Second Colossus is going to fall as well. And Reynor is breaking through. He's making this work. He breaks the third base. He rolls into the natural, annihilating the mineral line. And he has done it. He has broken the bases here of ShaDoWn. Again, ShaDoWn, he did miss warp-ins. He still has a lot of minerals and gas in the bank. GG gets called. And Reynor takes game number 1. But that was close. You could make an argument that ShaDoWn was in a really good position. He was. ShaDoWn, he had done a lot of damage with his Glaive Adepts. All he had to do was survive. All he had to do was focus on warping in back at home. He had 4 Colossus. He had good stasis traps. He had some decent positioning or decent sack. It's okay, ShaDoWn. It's okay. As spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have ShaDoWn for the Platinum Heroes. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have Reynor, representing Team Basilisk. Here we go. As Reynor is going to be going for a hatch verse this time. No need for any 15 hatch shenanigans. Just a straight up hatch gas pool out of Reynor. ShaDoWn not going for a pro block. He's going to be going for a gate expand himself. As we load into Golden Aura, very short rushes by ground. Bear that in mind. So you can be that much more aggressive. We have seen quite a lot of Roach all-ins, Roach Queen all-ins with creep highways across the map as well. Zerg players can be very aggressive on Golden Aura. The downside, of course, is that these bases are very tight-knit. They're very narrow entryways as well. You can be very defensive on this map despite the short rush distance. Very Neo-Humanity-esque. Okay, we're good. But yeah, very similar, very reminiscent of Neo-Humanity as we are getting into our next game. And again, so far everything's looking normal, everything's looking standard. This time Reynor won't have delayed gases, this time he won't have late link speed. He will be able to get into a much more secure mid-game. Likewise, ShaDoWn going for that early Twilight Council into Glaives. That did well for him in game 1. I doubt we're going to see that again in game 2. Typically, it is ill-advised to go for the same, like, quote-unquote aggressive, cheesy strat 2 games in a row, especially at this level of play. So we should be seeing something very different out of ShaDoWn, as he is going for a Stargate opener. Oh my god. My mind, I didn't realize what I was looking at. It is a Stargate opener. True. It is a Stargate opener, but it is a proxy Stargate outside the main base of Reynor. Meanwhile, he goes for a Link Scout, but he will not, barely will not find the proxy. Which means ShaDoWn will get away with this. Now, this is an interesting decision out of ShaDoWn. With this proxy Stargate, you can, of course, get your oracles across the map faster and into the mineral lines faster as well to try to punish Reynor. The downside is that your Stargate is exposed and your Stargate will most likely be shut down as we get into the mid-game. And that's dangerous because the Stargate is an important tech structure. You want to be making multiple oracles. You want to be having it later on if we go to the late game for Sky Toss as well. Like, the Stargate does have its uses, so bold move here for ShaDoWn to essentially say that eventually it's going to die. He's going to be giving it up. As the Oracle gets across the map, the Queens are in position. We're going to be getting 3 drones, but the Oracle goes down. 5 drones in total. Good damage, but 5 drones for an Oracle, I don't know if that's quite worth it, to be honest. Oh, there is quite a lot of value in an Oracle, and now the proxy has been spotted. We are aware that the second Oracle is on the way, and Reynor will be better prepared. Now, 5 drones this early on is good, yes, but because we're losing Oracles, that means it's going to be that much easier to punish the third base, and that much harder for ShaDoWn to hold on to it. As the third is now being taken by ShaDoWn. Lings are going to be threatening that pylon, forcing the Oracle back to waste its energy. Spores are on the way. And at least Reynor is distracted by the Stargate. At least he isn't really focusing on dealing with that third. As the pylon will go down, at least the third Oracle came out. At least ShaDoWn was able to make full use of the Stargate. And he has 2 Oracles out on the field. Looking to threaten those mineral lines at the same time. 6 Adepts also make their way across the map as well. Hyper aggression out of ShaDoWn. And Reynor's Lings are out of position. They're racing back home. The Queens, they are pulled together as well. But the Adepts, they commit. They take down 1 drone. But only a single worker. They're going to try to threaten his Shade as well into the natural. But so far, Reynor, he's holding well. Ooh, but did I speak too soon? As the Adept Shade into the natural base, 5 more drones go down. But 3 Adepts. It's an okay trade. It's okay. I mean, the Adepts, they get back home. They're going to be able to defend the third. And interesting, we have a Twilight Council Forge follow-up, but it's going to be +1 and charge, not blink. So ShaDoWn is working up towards a Charge Lot Archon-based composition. Okay. You do have my attention. Meanwhile, Reynor, he's just building himself up on 3 bases. He does have Overlord speed on the way. Roaches as well. I am curious if we are going to be going all in. I mean, we are taking an extra gas geyser, but that could just be for Roach production and Roach reinforcements. Additional Overlords are on the way. There it is. Dropper Lords in production. Reynor, I was talking about it earlier. Because of the short rush distance by ground, we have seen a lot of Roach Queen all-ins, and we are seeing exactly that here from Reynor. Going to be loading up those Queens into the Dropper Lords and going to be sending it straight to that third. Queens, Roaches, and Lings. Everything we can. A revelation will reveal this. We'll get eyes on the push. Shield batteries are being thrown down, but the Lings have already arrived. Oof. They're going to kill that shield battery. No, the Lings, they get into the main. They slip into the main base. Probes are under fire. We have Lings in the main, Lings in the natural, Lings in the third base. Every single mineral line is just on fire right now. And here comes the main push. This isn't even Reynor's final form, as he's coming in with Roaches, with Ravagers, with Queens. And ShaDoWn has just been pulled apart. He's just been completely pulled apart. GG gets called and showing. GG. GG, well played. As the predictions are being paid out. Meanwhile, we're going to be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's matches are Matcherino Esports versus the Kwangdong Freaks and Starlight Twinkle versus Storm Gaming. Oh my god, these matches are, I think, a little bit more... Oh my god. I do believe that these matches are a little bit more unpredictable, so I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to those matches later on tomorrow. Shout out to all the sponsors, WeChat, Tidal. Much love, much love. But yeah, I do believe that that tomorrow's match is going to be a little bit more competitive and a little bit less one-sided. Oh, that is from yesterday. But regardless, I hope everyone enjoyed themselves. Hope everyone had a great time tonight. Some great matches were had, and in the end, the teams that were favored, of course, did come out on top, but it wasn't an easy road for them. Their opponents did fight back quite hard. GG, well played. And again, well played to all the players and teams that did compete tonight. Again, tomorrow is going to be day 2 of this round of WTL, and then the day after that will be day 3. So 3 days straight of World Team League action, and we also have the finale of Korea versus the World on Monday. So Saturday and Sunday are World Team League, Monday is Korea versus the World. So a lot of StarCraft is ahead of us, and if you are unsatiated, if you want some more StarCraft action, we're going to be live once again tomorrow morning before WTL with the Korean StarCraft League. The KSL is tomorrow in 11 hours. In 11 hours time, we're going to be back here once again with some more StarCraft. So make sure you mark your calendars, make sure you mark your alarms, you set your alarms for our next broadcast. Be there for what comes next. Oh, I want to watch this. With that, thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for your support. We're going to be giving another StarCraft streamer a raid. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, hasta luego. Bye.